And hello again from WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. I'm Josh Manning, Deputy Managing Editor for Assignment here at the Western Journal. Joining me, Western Journal contributor Olivia Brown.
Hi.
And also supervising reporter Michael Austin. Thank you guys for being here with us. Thank you for being here with us on this Wednesday afternoon. Lots of stuff going on out there. It's very interesting watching the news right now. We've been talking about how it's kind of parts of the news environment are really slow right now.
Yeah.
But the Democrats actually are up to some pretty big things. In fact, there's one story that absolutely should have gone viral that we're going to talk about today. The problem is nobody else talked about it. And we're going to lead off with that with Olivia. After Olivia, Michael's going to be talking with us about what's actually happening with Biden's Build Back Better plan. And four of the most ridiculous things that have been tucked into the Build Back Better.
The $3.5 trillion plan. What's in there?
3.5. Spoiler one is equity for trees.
Yeah.
And then I'll wrap up. We're going to be talking about vaccine mandates, how that relates to the Border Patrol, and what President Biden and the left is doing really to hollow out the U.S. law enforcement and military services. But as I alluded to earlier, first, Olivia, you've got a story that absolutely should have gone viral. It is a story about storming the Capitol, but nobody knows about it.
And those words, storming the Capitol, were actually the word storming. So this is very alarming to me. So yesterday in Ohio, these abortionists with Planned Parenthood, Ohio, what they did is they stormed the Ohio Capitol. And what they did is screaming and banging on the doors of the Senate. So why is this not being covered? Why? Because we know January 6th had a huge
It was the only thing
uproar.
everybody talked about for days and weeks and months.
It's still going on.
It's still the go-to for the left.
So why is no one talking about this? There's a major double standard. Let's show this video.
Maybe we can take that again.
Yeah, one more time. Here we go. Here we go.
Look at them bang the chamber.
It's funny, there are no American flags there or anything.
There's only an I love abortion.
I worship
How disgusting! How disgusting is that? And we have some of the biggest and largest scope of abortion going on right now, and they're still complaining.
Yeah.
So, and they talk about it being their body, their choice. So why is this not being the same as vaccine mandates? It should be our body, our choice, if we want to put that in there. And so the difference between January 6th and what went on yesterday, there has been no media coverage. One guy was there. He had one retweet on it, which is sad.
One like media member.
One media member that was there.
A whole retweet.
One
retweet.
And 2 likes. So nothing is happening over this. Nobody's talking about it. There should be uproar. If there was uproar of them breaking into the Senate chambers with January 6th.
Yeah.
So, Josh, Michael, do you think this is a double standard?
Well, yeah, we've known for months now that if you're wearing a MAGA hat and you do something wrong, you're a terrorist. You're a domestic white supremacist terrorist. But if you're supporting Black Lives Matter or if you're pro-abortion, then you're just peacefully protesting. It doesn't matter how much damage you do. It doesn't matter how many fires are raging on behind you. Then you're a peaceful protester.
How much COVID you spread. COVID magically cannot be spread when you are gathered together in support of a leftist cause.
I know.
As we know, it's really interesting the way the virus works. Yeah, I don't think it's surprising at all. We talked about this around the office when all of this insanity was happening between November and the end of January, and when the country was almost ripping itself apart. We talked about this in the office and about times that Democrats have taken over offices in the Capitol, times that they've been arrested. I think we've had actual Democrat members of Congress escorted out, I think, but I can't remember for certain. But we have certainly had cases where there have been disruptions, offices taken over, and that sort of thing. And the left didn't care about that at all. But when you get a bunch of ticked off Americans in the Capitol protesting, staying inside the stanchions. You know the stanchions, those are the things that keep you in line at the bank. When you get a bunch of protesting Americans in between the stanchions in the Capitol, Democrats absolutely lose their ever-loving mind.
Yeah, terrorists are sticklers for standing in between stanchions.
Terrorists in those stanchions.
Yeah.
That's really the way you get them.
They should have used more stanchions in Kabul. We might have been able to slow down ISIS if we had just used more stanchions.
Would have been a brilliant move.
It's
General Miley, you're useless otherwise. Why couldn't you have at least figured that out?
It's interesting to see. Another story that recently came out was a veteran, 61 years old, who died before his trial. His story, what he alleges, is that he was pepper sprayed and trying to get help from the police, and they charged him. They charged him for assaulting the officer when he was trying to get help after being pepper sprayed because other people were being pepper sprayed and all the chaos.
Yeah.
So, why weren't these people arrested? Why was there not pepper spray for the abortionists that were literally banging on the doors of the Senate?
Yeah.
Oh, because they're leftists. I don't mean to be trite about it, but because they're Democrats, because they're leftists, because the media will not cover negative things that have to do with left. You're exactly right. I mean, the fellow you're talking about alleges that he essentially was in an area where there was a cloud of pepper spray of some sort. He went down on his knees and he tried to sort of get underneath one of the riot shields for protection.
Yes.
And if you've ever been pepper sprayed, it's very hard, especially if you've never had it happen before.
Yeah.
You feel blind and you're not sure what to do. So the guy was actually he claims he's trying to get some help, went kind of under the shield, and they arrested him for it, and he essentially died under house arrest. Which, welcome to Biden's America.
Well, and that's the other part of this is how they've treated the Capitol rioters and protesters.
Oh, yeah.
This was a veteran.
Yeah.
This was a veteran.
But
at least he didn't get shot like Ashley.
A lot of people have
That's
been
true.
talking about how the rights of those, even the individuals there that did riot, that did break the law on January 6th, their rights have been stripped away. Their rights to a speedy trial gone. They're just being held indefinitely in these different, whether it be at home or in these jail cells. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're essentially political prisoners, and Michael's 100% right. There are people there who broke the law that day.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. We're not saying that everything was perfect, but we're saying it wasn't what the media said it was cracked up to be.
Yeah.
And the leftists should be held to the same exact standards.
Yeah, but they never will be. And we've had a really interesting conversation going on in the newsroom for the last few weeks. If you've been paying attention, you've seen more and more rallies or groups greeting the president or the vice president who are shouting out F Joe Biden, or they have F Biden signs. And we've been talking about this in the newsroom, trying to figure out, what do you do with this? And I'm curious what you guys think. I'm sort of hijacking the end of your segment, but I want to ask a question, though. I really want to hear what you have to say. I think what's happening is that conservatives and kind of salt of the earth Americans have seen the double standard so long that they're just sick of it, and they're essentially coming together and as a unified force saying, F all of this.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. People are fed up. They're sick and tired. It's unfair to not show both sides of what's going on.
Yeah, and I think, under Trump, people's lives in some ways were getting worse just because of how the media was constantly pushing out negative coverage. They're constantly talking about, Trump is bad because of this, Trump is bad because of that. People were sick of that. And so, a lot of people wanted Trump out. And now they got Biden, and the media's fine, but their actual livelihoods are getting worse. Everything
awful.
about their lives is getting worse, where they were actually getting slightly better under Trump before the pandemic. Now they're just
way better, not just slightly better, way better.
Way better than they are now, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, did you? I want to swing to the
Yes.
building back better thing, but did you guys see the dollar stores are now having to?
Yeah, Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree isn't able to maintain its whole stock
Soon
of
to
dollar
be called $1.50 Tree.
Oh, yeah.
They can't. Inflation is killing them. So
Yeah.
they're having to raise prices. So the dollar store, it's kind of becoming dollar in name only.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
been like that for a while, but exploding at the rate that we're going, it is going to be devastating to people's savings. Remember, your inflation isn't just something that impacts banks. Inflation impacts you. It's a tax
Yes.
on
Yeah.
you. Your money buys less. It's essentially you have less money.
And all of those problems caused by Biden's exorbitant spending, all of this inflation, they're just going to get worse when they start trying to pass this $3.5 trillion Build Back Better plan. And we actually had some pretty good reporting on the plan. It's been released. People have been able to read the 2,465 pages of it online.
Imagine what the founders would think of that.
Yeah.
Imagine what Thomas Jefferson would think of that.
And
I don't know if he had time to read that. He had too much to do.
no, they
Saving
didn't.
America.
They didn't have bills this
Creating
long
America.
back then. But
Imagine how much all
regardless,
that paper would have cost. Sorry, keep going.
yeah. But speaking of paper, one of the biggest parts of this plan is tree equity.
Tree equity.
Maybe tree equity
We
could have been
teased
better
that.
served if the bill itself was less pages, so there wasn't thousands and thousands of pages being printed off every
Innocent
time.
trees slaughtered for Biden's Build Back.
Yeah, tell us what this is, because I'm sure a lot
So-
of people don't understand it.
We've had some good reporting on the plan and a lot of these crazy things that have been included in the plan, and we have a graphic for you that kind of showed up on Fox News. It kind of shows some of the highlights here. So we have $79 billion for tax enforcement. We'll get into that in a little bit. $12 billion for electric cars. $3 billion for tree equity. Tree equity. And what is tree equity? Well, it's just planting trees in cities that need trees planted. Is the best that the bill doesn't quite define tree equity, but that's as far as we know.
Equity part of that.
I don't. Cities
Trees
where there
for
aren't
people who
that
don't
many
have trees. That's
exactly.
it. Trees for
exactly.
people who don't have trees
So-
because of where they decided.
Finish out real quick. $4 million for distance learning, $74 million for resource centers, and $25 million for bias training. What would the bias training be? Well, it's basically just a bunch of people getting together and calling you racist for being
It's training
white.
you how to be biased. It's training you how to be biased
But just-
against white people,
but just to
against
look-
men, against Christians.
So the spending has been out of control. Inflation is rising. Biden's bragging about how this doesn't cost anything because he's only charging large corporations and the wealthy, when in reality, doing that affects all of us. It
Yeah, of
makes,
course.
less jobs. There's going to be less jobs. There's going to be less job creation, all of that. But anyway, to these points. So, number one, tree equity, $3 billion just for planting trees everywhere.
What I'm thinking is, so I lived in Washington State for a period of time, and I
but
did not
trees.
jive with the trees because I was allergic to evergreen trees. It's the evergreen state. So we moved to Arizona, and I felt substantially healthier. What if I don't want more trees? I moved to Arizona,
Yeah.
so there aren't trees. I like cactus.
Having trees inflicted on you.
Well,
I am.
and Thomas Sowell pointed out in a op-ed that I read quite a while ago that there's all these zoning laws for putting more trees in cities, and this would essentially be a really large-scale version of that. When in reality, most of the world has trees. You don't need to put trees in cities where you could create all kinds of other stuff. Buildings that could create jobs for people, that could create housing for people. No, instead, we're just going to put all these trees there. Anyway, point number 2, bias training, and particularly in the healthcare field. So basically, what these 25 millions are going to go towards is just hiring a bunch of outside groups to dissect the healthcare field, probably using critical theory, probably just
Oh, absolutely.
finding excuses for why something's discriminatory, why something's racist. They're going to come in, they're going to call the white people racist, and they're going to try to come up with solutions, even though these people don't know anything about healthcare.
Yeah.
And 25 million is going towards that. The third
25
point,
million to make white people feel more guilty for things that happened
Exactly.
years and years and years and
Yeah.
years ago.
then another $1 billion is going to go towards high performance green buildings. So just more of the, the climate change agenda has reached its tentacles into every aspect of the Democrat agenda. And this is just an extension of that. $1 billion for that.
High performance green
pretty crazy.
buildings. So they're green buildings that get just excellent gas
Yeah,
mileage or
yeah.
something. Yeah,
Is
right.
it just like requiring apartments to have recycling? What
It's-
is this
yeah,
exactly?
It's creating a bunch of like green energy buildings that aren't going to, increase fossil fuels and all this stuff uses. So buildings
so
that use
really, really light bulbs that you can barely see.
exactly. Well, the reason it costs so much is because it costs more to use that kind of energy than it does.
Yeah, well, of
fossil
course.
fuels
Yeah, and
or
where's the tech?
nuclear.
The tech ends up coming from China too.
Yeah.
and it's incredibly non-biodegradable.
But using that money to implement stuff like this, it's just going to cost more in the long run to maintain buildings when you have to use that kind of energy. And then,
and we know how good Democrats already are at maintaining buildings in cities.
Oh, no.
and then probably the thing that's being talked about most is the nearly $80 billion that's being put towards tax enforcement. So they're just giving like billions of dollars to the IRS to help them scrutinize everyone's taxes a little bit more.
And make them actually do their job. Isn't that what they're supposed to be doing
apparently
already?
they need $80 more million to do a job that they're already horrible at. So, whatever.
I wish I got paid more
What?
just to do my job.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
would they need that? If this is not going to raise taxes
Right.
on the vast majority
Right.
of Americans, why would they need, how much was it? 80 billion?
Almost 80 billion.
More?
So 80 billion. So this isn't going to cost you anything, but 80 billion is going to go towards people that are going to look at your taxes and make sure you're paying all your taxes. So that's what they're saying.
I saw somebody tweet earlier today. Gosh, forgive me, I can't remember who you are, but somebody tweeted earlier today. Well, my mortgage is $1,500 per month, and
Yeah.
I make $1,500 per month. Therefore, my mortgage is free. That's the
Oh my
logic.
goodness.
That's the logic that's being used here.
And then this is the last point I wanted to bring up. This is probably the biggest thing, and they really tried to sneak it into the bill with some kind of complicated wording and stuff, and it's hundreds of pages down, but it is basically an addendum to Biden's vaccine mandate that he announced back on September 7th. So the vaccine mandate, Biden basically told OSHA, hey, come up with a plan in a few weeks. I want you to make sure that all private companies with 100 or more employees enforce a vaccine mandate. Otherwise, they face fines. And back then, we were told the fines were going to be somewhere around $14,000.
Yeah.
That still is outrageous.
Yeah,
That's
which
an insane fine.
in and of itself is outrageous. But in this bill comes with this provision that says, no. You can't, don't tax people, don't fine people $14,000. Fine them up to $700,000 for each infraction. So if you're a business, you have 100 or more employees, and one of your employees does not get vaccinated and doesn't, do weekly testing, you get fined $700,000. And that's
is-
the maximum fine. The minimum fine would be $50,000, which is still way more than the original $14,000 Biden promised. So you guys could react to that, or what do you think the
That is
craziest thing in this bill is?
That is outrageous to
Yeah.
enforce. First of all, it's outrageous to enforce companies to do that with more than 100.
Yes.
That is punishing people that have large companies, and this is going to put a lot of people out of work. I know people that are planning to leave their jobs or sue their employer
Yeah.
if they are forced to do this.
Yeah.
So we're already having lots and lots of problems with jobs. I was recently at this hotel for a conference, and one of the best rooms there and restaurants is closed. We asked why it's closed. They don't have enough people to staff it. So
Yeah.
this is going to continue to happen if people are they're just going to leave their jobs, and this is going to cause more. And then on top of that, we're going to see these companies out $700,000. Many companies might not
Possibly.
even have
Yeah.
that much.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you think about it, depending on where you work, a company that has 100 employees might seem really big or really small.
Yeah.
You know, we're not that far away from 100 employees, and we still feel like we still think of ourselves as a family. Essentially,
yeah.
a big family, yeah.
Basically.
And I cannot imagine that there are that many businesses that size that can handle a $700,000 fine.
No.
And
No way.
It's not clear to me whether the 700, if that's the first move, or if they eventually escalate.
So
up
it's
to
a
that.
wide range. It's anywhere from 50 to
up
700,000
for
So-
one infraction.
For one infraction. You know, if you don't correct that infraction in the right amount of time, there could be another fine. If you get something else wrong, there's another fine for that. So these fines can stack up on top of each other.
So the incentive here, really, if you're a CFO, you have got all the incentive in the world to fire
Yes.
anyone who won't come anywhere
Yes.
near
Yeah.
the vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
I would
get
say
them
that's
out no matter what.
discriminatory.
yeah.
Well, you would think, especially since vaccine rates lag in minority populations.
Yeah.
So the Supreme Court said that where disparity exists, you can infer racism. That's what the Supreme
Yeah.
Court themselves
Yes.
said.
Crazy.
And the
Yeah.
black
So-
community is one of the people that are most not getting the vaccine.
Yes, exactly. So I think we can infer that this is completely racist based on the Supreme
Yeah.
Court's own reasoning. So let's talk about let's kind of put some legs on this and talk about vaccine mandates a little bit more. I want to talk specifically about what's happening at the southern border. We're going to branch out from this a little bit, but first, yesterday, Jim Jordan wrote a letter to Alejandro Mayorkas. Mayorkas is the Secretary for Homeland Security, and comes from Cuban immigrants, by the way. So, comes from Cuban immigrants. And Jordan said, essentially, listen, I've gotten wind that you guys are going to enforce the vaccine mandate. One of the places you're going to enforce it is at the border with Border Patrol agents. And let me read you a couple of passages from the letter itself. The Department of Homeland Security has threatened to fire Border Patrol officials who refuse to comply with Biden's vaccine mandate. The Border Patrol has encountered 1.2 million illegal aliens along the southwest border since January of this year. That's the highest number in 20 years. While our border is facing this serious crisis, we've learned that you're threatening to terminate a significant portion of Customs and Border Patrol workforce on September 9th, 2021, President Biden issued an executive order. It's come to our attention that the men and women of CBP have been given official notice that they must be fully vaccinated by November 2021 or face termination. President Biden even vowed the Border Patrol officers, quote, will pay. So, indulge me, one more passage. President Biden's vaccine mandate, as applied to the CBP, risks reducing the already depleted Border Patrol workforce in the middle of the unfolding border crisis. It's simply unbelievable that the Biden administration will allow COVID-positive illegals to surge across the border, but will terminate dedicated law enforcement officers who don't comply with the president's mandate. That is almost unbelievable based on everything we've seen over the last few months. Maybe it's less unbevelievable by the day. Or more
sad
believable
I'm not
by the
fazed
day.
by things that Democrats do now.
Yeah. So we've talked about this in the newsroom, and effectively, it looks like the Biden administration is essentially hollowing out law enforcement agencies and the military. You already see wokeism penetrating the upper ranks of the military. You've heard comments from Miley. You've heard comments from Austin. You've heard comments from there's an admiral whose name I'm forgetting. So extreme leftism is penetrating the top echelons. You've already got plenty of leftism in the military on the not the teeth side. They say the military split into tail and teeth, right? The teeth are the people fighting. The tail is the stuff that supports them. The tail tends to be about 50-50 Republican, Democrat. The teeth are generally super conservative. But that is getting infiltrated with leftism. At the same time, you're having police forces, especially in urban areas, they are becoming more and more woke. And now you're seeing this sort of thing happening at the Border Patrol and other places where if you are not interested in the vaccine or if you're wary of it, that you're going to be pushed out too. And it seems to me like that is setting up a scenario where medical workers, law enforcement, military, where there are precious few conservatives left in those organizations. But that sounds kind of crazy. Am I being paranoid?
No, they're pushing them out. That's what they're trying to do. And it doesn't make any sense to me that when we're having such a crisis at the border that they're going to take it away. We're already seeing so many problems. The last time I was on here, I talked about all the 10,000 people that were down at the border. And we're just going to continue to see this. We're going to see everything continue to rise on the border, and taking away more agents is not the way to go. It's just, and it's hurting the agents that are already there.
Oh yeah.
Because they can't handle it.
And now they don't have horses either.
They took their horses away?
They took some of the horses away. Yeah.
Because reins are dangerous. Reins are racist.
Reins are whips.
Yeah, reins are whips. Even if they're used as reins.
Trafalgar has new polling out. It shows that 65% of Americans don't believe workers should lose their jobs for objecting to taking the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah.
It's interesting how it splits out. Only 50%, actually less than 50%, 48% of Democrats say Americans, 50% say Americans should not lose their jobs. 83% of Republicans say it. I mean, it's stunning how many Democrats are willing to push people out. And you do have to wonder if that's because they know who the people not taking the vaccine.
Right.
Yeah.
Who those
I'm
people
sure they have
are.
friends and family.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That are going to lose their jobs.
Certainly. Russ, we have two graphs or two scatter plots from the New York Times. Russ, can you put the first one of those up, please? Now we got both of them. So this is interesting. The New York Times plotted on the left, that is states with larger Trump voting shares and how likely the adults are to be vaccine hesitant. As you can see, the redder the states become, the more likely they are to be hesitant about the vaccine. If you look at the graph on the right, it's a smaller share of residents already vaccinated than states with larger Biden vote shares. So it kind of goes the other way around. When you look at people, how many people have been vaccinated, the redder it gets, the fewer people you have unvaccinated. So this is going to overwhelmingly, disproportionately impact conservatives, Republicans, patriotic type people. And I mean, it looks, at some point you have to say, look, this is very intentional. It's very targeted toward conservatives specifically. We thought deplatforming was bad. This is destroying lives. Yeah.
Well, at the core of the Democratic Party right now, and this hasn't been always what liberalism has been, but it's definitely what drives the party. This is not the far left. This is the mainstream Democratic Party believes that Republicans are evil, they're stupid, and that they should be pushed out of, everyday life until they wisen up and start voting blue.
Yeah.
Like they consistently, you can see that messaging filter out in all kinds of different areas. And by doing this sort of vaccine mandate stuff, you're ensuring that a larger portion of Republicans are gone, a larger portion of conservatives, and a larger portion of independents. Anyone that doesn't think mainline Democrat has a bigger chance of getting pushed out, and that's exactly what they want. They want all of the doctors to be blue. They want all of the police officers to be Democrat. They want to take over all of these institutions, and they want to push everyone out. And they found a pretty good way a pretty good first step on that journey. So it's pretty scary stuff.
Isn't it going to be interesting to look back at COVID in 5, 10, 20 years and really see how quickly it accelerated the left's plans?
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier today. For a long time, it's felt like we're frogs on a hot plate, right? And it's getting warmer and warmer, but people weren't realizing it. Then all of a sudden, Well, first off, Trump was elected, and you see the media just go bananas in a way we had never seen before. That was shocking to some people, though it shouldn't have been. And now you've got just unbelievable suspension of civil liberties with COVID. It is waking people up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think going back to that whole F. Joe Biden thing that we're seeing all over the place, I think people are becoming not just frustrated with it. I think they've been frustrated. I think they are now angry, and they are ready to fight back.
But
yeah, I've never seen people like this ready to fight back.
And one of the promising parts of that I've seen is it's independents too. It's not just Republicans.
Wildly, yeah, like
independents.
2/3 to 3/4.
Democrats are starting to kind of lose faith in their own party. Independents are on our side. We have an opportunity here.
For so long, it really was Republicans versus Democrats, and we essentially did both want the country to succeed. We just had different ways we wanted to go. If you go back and listen to JFK and Nixon debate, I mean, you're clearly listening to two people who are very pro-American. The people who voted for that Democrat Party, who were salt of the earth, patriotic Americans, they don't have a home there anymore. Yeah, and I think they are waking up to that and realizing it. Trump helps with that. I mean, we took the Rust. Who saw that coming? We took the Rust Belt. Right. So there is hope. Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. It's hard in this kind of an environment, but the real kind of hopeless situation was the frog on a hot plate. If people were never going to wake up and then just one day all our freedoms would be gone. Thank God that hasn't happened. People are waking up. Our freedoms are really threatened, but people are waking up now.
We're not Australia.
We're not Australia.
We're better than Australia.
And I saw I don't know if it was in New South Wales. I forget this. I saw it earlier today, though. The headline, Australians who have resisted the vaccine will be ostracized for months and years to come. Yeah, something like that.
Are they sending them out to islands? What are they doing? These
that would just be delightful, wouldn't it? That would
People
be delightful.
Penal colonies. Australia.
Penal colonies for the largest penal colony in the world. All right. Anything else? Is that good?
I think we're good.
All right, folks. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. We went a couple minutes long. Thanks for being here on this Wednesday. Remember, we are here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to click the little bell. Click the subscribe button. Then you can click the little bell. Don't get those the other way around. Yeah. Once you click the bell, you'll be notified every time we go live. You will never miss an episode. And that also means no shadow banning. That'll stop that. Additionally, thank you for watching. Thank you for reading our articles at westernjournal.com. What we do is a pretty expensive thing, and we do it really on a shoestring budget. We were talking about being kind of feeling like a family earlier. We're actually a family-owned company, and God has provided for us, and that is wonderful. If you feel led to help provide that support, you can go to westernjournal.com/join. That's westernjournal.com/join. There are a couple ways there that you can join with us. You can partner with us to help support the journalism that we produce that's not being produced anywhere else. We are the largest Christian conservative news and commentary publisher on the web, and we're proud of that. We're excited about it. It's a neat thing to come work here every day. We appreciate your support and are grateful for it. That's it for us. We're going to see you, we're going to see you Friday. For Michael, for Olivia, for Russ, everybody back in the booth, I'm Josh Manning. We'll see you next time.